Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how I plan my moon alignments to end up with images that look like this. Did you like what you see? Well, then keep watching because I'm going to explain to you how exactly do I do that. Alright, so all of my planning that I am doing for my photographs is done by a mobile app called PLANIT. As you can see, this is the main interface of this app, and just to get it out of the way at the beginning, I am not affiliated in any way with the author of PLANIT. I haven't been paid to make this video, and everything I'm saying right here is my own opinion. So typically, if you want to photograph a lunar or solar alignment, for this video we are going to focus on alignment with the moon. And by alignment I'm just referring to a photograph where you have the moon behind a certain interesting object in the foreground, and typically you want to shoot it with a long focal length in order to have the moon appear very large with regards to the size of this foreground object. So there are basically two ways you can approach this. The first way is you kind of need to get a little bit lucky because, for instance, you have a full moon coming up and you are wondering, okay, what interesting could I shoot with this full moon? And by doing that, you kind of have to scout the locations and see what is the azimuth of the rising moon and see whether some interesting object is crossing this azimuth. So for instance, right here we are on the May 26th of 2021, and this is the date when I have shot this photo. And as you can see, when I approached this, I actually got a little bit lucky because I was taking a look at what is the azimuth of the rising moon. So let's scroll this one right here until the moon rises. As you can see, here is the moon and it is rising on this line. So right here, for instance, is the moonrise, more or less, and I need to see what could be on the azimuth of this rising moon. And I have a couple of markers here. As you can see, I have 1, 2, 3, and 4 markers here. And I'm going to talk a little bit in detail about those markers. But for now, let's assume that we want to align the moon with this marker right here. So I just need to basically back up a little and see where could I stand so that the moon is aligned with my marker. And in order to help it out a little bit, we can actually set the subject location. As you can see right here, I actually have 3 markers, and maybe it's a good idea to talk about markers for now because they will come in very important in just a moment. So the way a marker works is basically you set up a marker on a certain part on the earth, and right here I have actually 3 markers. As you can see, there is this castle right here in Krakow where I live, and here are the 2 towers of this castle, and here is the cathedral. So when I add markers on these 3 locations, I will be later on be able to see this building in a virtual reality. It's called a VR viewfinder here in this app, and you will see how powerful it is in a second. But just to kind of give you an idea, for instance, let's edit this marker on this tower. So I'm going to go to edit, and right here you have your latitude, your longitude, you have some elevation, you have the name. You can give it a certain category, certain kind of a symbol here, and also the very important things are the height, the width, and the height above ground. The height above ground is if you have some part of the building that is above ground, for instance, some kind of a sphere on a tower, like the tower in Berlin, or maybe the top of the Space Needle in Seattle, so this could be handy for that. The height and the width, you basically need to figure it out from kind of a public source like Wikipedia or somewhere. I have found this information somewhere online, and I have input this in PLANIT, and that way I will be able to utilize this later on. So let's back up here. The same thing with this marker, with the second tower, and the same thing with the 3rd marker that is a little bit larger. As you can see, the width is denoting a diameter. So all of these are like cylinders with a fixed height and some kind of a width, which is a diameter of this kind of a circle. And you will see in just a moment why is it so handy. So I'm going to actually set up my subject location on this position, and in order to do that I need to tap on this button right here. And then if I scroll from here, not from here, but from here, I can go to distance and view mode. And now if I back up, let's scale down, I can actually move my location. As you can see, we have this connecting line between my location and my subject. And if I align this line with the azimuth of the moon, I get the tiny, I don't know if you can hear this, there's a tiny vibration in my phone. So if I back up somewhere where I was actually shooting this, and now if I move right here my phone is vibrating, so I know that from this position I have a perfect alignment of my subject and the moon. So let's actually drop, let's actually drop here the camera location, so plus, and then set the camera location. And right now let's go to the viewfinder VR mode. So I'm going to click this and go to the viewfinder VR, and right here, as you can see, I can pinch to zoom in. You can see here is how the moon would appear, and here is my castle. You can see the one tower, the second tower, and the cathedral, and it takes into consideration the terrain. It pulls out the altitude information from Google Maps, so you can see that actually there's a little bit of terrain above the castle, which is exactly what can you see in the final photo that I took. And you can see how big would the moon be with regards to the size of this building, given the focal length of, in this case, 643 millimeters. I was actually shooting this with a 600 millimeter lens, so I can tap here and enter 600. So this is the framing that I am going to get, and I actually shot this a little bit earlier, so you can use this bar in the bottom to kind of move in time. So I'm gonna actually did it okay, I can tap here on the minus and on the plus to make tiny adjustments. And somewhere around here with this position of the moon, I was shooting this. I was actually standing a little bit to the right. But like I said, I got a little bit lucky that I actually knew about this location, this vantage point from which the cathedral and the castle was visible, so I could take this shot. But typically, the way you would approach this is, for instance, you have a location, a good vantage point from which you can see the object of interest, and you want to get a shot of the moon either rising or setting above this particular foreground object that you wish to photograph. So how could you approach something like this? So in order to do that, we are going to reset the date to today, which is done by clicking on this button right here. And let's see that, okay, when could I do that? When could it happen possibly that from this location, let's actually move it here, because here's a little bit it is a little bit more convenient to sit in this particular position. Right here, I actually know this location from my childhood. But anyway, from this location, I want to shoot this castle, and I want to have the moon aligned exactly with this castle when it comes to the azimuth of a rising moon. I know that it has to be a moonrise because my subject is on the right side here, due east. So I know that the only possibility is a moonrise, never a moon set. So here is when we can unleash the true power of this mobile application. So I'm gonna scroll up from the top and change the mode to sun/moon finder. And then what I want to do is I want to set it that I want to photograph a moonrise. So I'm going to click here and change from sunrise to moonrise. And then I know that the azimuth from my location, of the location of the camera to the location of my subject, is 128 degrees. As you can see, there's a 128.2 exactly degrees of the azimuth. So I can input this azimuth as my sort of desired azimuth here in the moon/sun finder. So I'm going to click here where it says any, and I'm going to type 128 right here. I'm going to give it a tolerance of, let's say, 5 degrees plus or minus. We're going to refine it in a little bit so you can see how cold it actually is. So for now, let's hit done. And then I'm going to adjust the elevation. So I'm going to keep it at 0, and I'm going to give it a tolerance of, again, minus plus 5 degrees. Done. And then you can set up your start date and your end date. So the start date is going to be today, and the end date is going to be a year from now, which is 15th of June 2022. And then look at that, we are going to go into the viewfinder VR mode again. We are going to actually back up a little bit. You can use the pinching kind of behavior to back up. And then look at that, we have this green kind of rectangle. Actually, it's a square here. We have this green rectangle, and what we can do, which is so powerful right now, we can actually move, we can grab one of the corners and move it in order to change, and this changes our desired elevation angle with a range plus or minus, and also our desired azimuth with a range plus or minus. So we can pinch in again, we can move these to make this a little bit smaller, because I want to shoot it with a 600, so I want to make it definitely smaller. And what the app will do is it will find you all the days and all the times on those days where the moon will appear exactly in this box, so you can shoot your desired alignment. Let's make it something like this, maybe move it a little bit like that. Alright, so here is my desired box. I want the moon to appear in this rectangle behind the castle and the towers that are right here. As you can see, we have 11 results. This is what the application has found. So in the period of time from now to a year from now, we have 11 opportunities to photograph the moon that will be exactly within these bounds, so we can shoot it, which is right behind our object of interest. So we can actually tap here and see what we got. So the first one we got is at 5:30 p.m. So it is during the day, so it's probably not going to be very interesting because it's going to be too bright to get a good photo of a moon. So let's see the next one. The next one is right above. The next one is right after sunset. So this is actually a very good opportunity to shoot a moon. As you can see, it is a full moon because it is right after sunset. So it matches the size of the moon. It's a full moon. So as you can see, July 24th, 2021, I can shoot a full moon rising behind this castle and these towers again. So let's see what we got next. We have something midday again. We have something again midday. Right here we have a very, very tiny moon again in the morning, so it's going to be too bright to photograph it. During the day, again during the day. Now we have a moonrise that happens in the night, so we have like 1 a.m. and 48 minutes. And as you can see, you can scroll through these and find a desired kind of a, phase of the moon and what time of day do you want to shoot it. And then you can go out to the location on that exact date that you have right here. It does require some patience because sometimes it will be like 6 months from now, so you need to set up a reminder in your calendar in order to not miss it. Of course, the weather can ruin your plans or other, life events or whatever. But at least you can plan it with very good precision, and you can know that if you want to get that shot that you dream about with this particular object of interest and a moon either rising or setting, you can use this app to plan it. And this is exactly what I have been doing for the past 2 years, and it worked wonderfully for me. So as you can see, the PLANIT mobile app is very powerful indeed when it comes to planning your lunar or solar alignments for that matter. I have been using this app for over 2 years and I can highly recommend it. Alright, that's basically it for me for this video. If you liked it, make sure to leave a thumbs up down below. I would really appreciate it. And also consider subscribing to my channel right here because I will be posting a lot more similar content in the future. And in the meantime, you can check out these 2 videos. I think you might find them interesting, and hopefully see you in my next video. Bye bye.